Oh yes. Once again it is that time. PoGokeRo's Pirate Broadcast. Arr. Today is Digestion of the Mueller Report. Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, America. Today I have a special guest with me. With me is the Roguish Bard. The Roguish Bard.
Hi.
Hello. All right.
So that was something.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I gotta, we're pretty low tech over here. I'm pretty low tech, so I gotta make it up somehow.
Oh, I meant about the report, about the testimony.
Oh, yeah. We're getting right
topic.
into it. Getting right into it. But yeah, Roguish Bard. Yeah, I'd like to introduce you. You are a nice young woman here in town. Training in paralegal.
Well, I hope I'm not training. I hope I've done pretty well with my certificate and all. But I know what you mean.
But
yes, I assist the lawyers.
Yes. So
I'll leave it at that.
You have a legal background. You have a handle of what things are what's going down.
I cannot give legal advice.
No.
Nothing I say counts as legal advice. It is simply my opinion.
Yes, of course. So, yeah. But you're not just, like me. I'm a legal newbie. I don't know anything going on in terms of legal stuff. So, wait, my title screen's back up. Sorry. All right, there. Yeah, I don't know anything in terms of legal stuff.
Yeah, so like watching it, I was like, oh, I see this from the perspective of like people I work with and the way that they tackle their work. I kind of understood the thing that he's kind of being mocked the most about already, which is his like hesitation to really speak on anything. I think it was more his delivery of that statement. Like he seemed like confused and uncertain, but honestly, if he thinks that there's even a potential of something else down the line, he does not want to say anything right now that could be used later on against that.
Yes.
And so I understood that.
Yes, I didn't realize he was being mocked online or wherever. I don't really watch TV, so I don't know what's going on in the TV sphere.
The comments on anything right now are there's so many of them that are going, oh, you can't speak on that. And somebody made a really I would actually like directly quote them if I could remember where I saw it. It was in the comments section somewhere. Somebody actually said, he's kind of like the perfect NPC. He just has these like perfectly set in place responses, and it's like he's broken, and you can only get these 2 responses from him, and I'm like, that's really mean.
But that's ignorant. That's ignorant because like you said, okay, well, like you said, he doesn't want to taint these other investigations. That is utterly ignorant what they're talking about. All those people on TV saying this stuff are dumb. Because yes, there's 14 other investigations going on about right now, and we only know about 2 of them. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy to say that, to mock him for not divulging more information. Like he said the whole thing. He said this whole time, the report is my testimony. Like,
yeah. I think that's the problem, is that especially as a attorneys are not used to being the ones who have to present information as far as like a witness would. They're not used to being the ones sitting there going, well, this is what I saw and this is what we did.
Well, he refused to do it.
But I mean, to even be called in to give testimony, that's not something a lot of attorneys ever find themselves having to do.
Okay, yeah.
So he's used to coming in with all his, preparations, making the argument. He's used to being on the other side of
Yes.
what these hearings were.
Yes.
That's not to say that I personally, I still saw some problems with just his delivery. He didn't seem. I mean, he's known that he's going to be called like this for a long time, and it just didn't seem like he had
Prepared or
really like mentally prepared, not even factually prepared. It seemed like he just was not ready to be talking to everybody today.
Well, okay, so that's why he came across to me as a much older gentleman. Like he's
older. Yes, that was definitely the impression that I got, even from not just even a few months ago.
well, okay. So, but what I mean by that is that he poured in everything into the report itself, and that's why he was not gonna veer from that report. That report is everything for him.
Yeah.
That's why he called it a living document. Like he was hardcore about that report. So any of the questions that they're gonna get were gonna be either refer to the report, because I'm not gonna contradict the report, and then that's when the Democrats were on, and all they did was read the report back to him.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when the Republicans were on board or up on deck, all they did was talk about the Steele dossier. They had nothing. They didn't talk about the report at all.
I noticed that. Yeah.
So.
And I'm unfamiliar with that whole section in particular. So to me, it was just, the Democrats wanted to hear, did you mean impeachment when you were saying this? And he kept going, stop reading into my report like that. I'm not ready to be saying anything like that. And the Republicans were all like, yeah, and like all the Republicans were like, well,
you're a bad person.
We think there's some. No, they were like, we think there's some wrongdoing amongst your witnesses. We think some of them were liars. So, how do we know that they weren't all liars? And it's like, well,
that's all they have is insinuation. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you're talking about a bunch of witnesses that you don't trust. But guess what? If somebody wants to defend themselves, typically, everybody does have the right to plead the fifth if they think that they're being pushed into saying something that's going to incriminate themselves. So otherwise, you at least want to say something in defense of yourself. So for somebody to be called almost a year and never want to say anything.
For Trump? Not sitting down with Mueller? Yeah.
So I mean, you got all the ones that they're like, this person is found to be, not in good faith. But then it's like, well, if one come in and say something truly contrary to all this other stuff, then he had plenty of opportunities. Like, unless he thought that he could only come in and say things that were going to make his case worse. Which I kind of feel like he realizes that about himself. That he's like, he's kind of like Biden, just to slip that in there. It's like, he doesn't want to say too much because he knows it won't make him look any better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but that's what this whole game is, right? To make you say something that can be used against you.
Yeah, I wish the game were more about just generally, hey, let's have the best option, and not just let's have our option.
Yeah, I know. I get you, but see, that's the thing. Like, yeah, I know where we need to go, and you know where we need to go, but there's these group of people that want to go in a totally opposite direction from us.
Well, but I don't even necessarily think right now, I'm not feeling really confident about either party, because at least like the ones, I'm not talking about any future candidates or anything like that. I'm just talking about generally the motion that the country is in under either of the main two parties, it just always feels like we definitely sail a little bit smoother when it's Democratic leadership, but I still feel like oftentimes they're a little too strict on what's right and what's wrong for people, and yet they still can be right up there with the whole we gotta support our corporations versus our people.
Yeah. So that's the difference in like how the different kinds of Republicans there are. There's like different kind of Democrats. There's like the New Deal, or not the New Deal, the third. They call themselves Third Way, or New Democrats, but they're corporate Democrats. And Nancy Pelosi is one of them. And I do not like them. You're right. I do like the progressive Democrats. And so to me that's the future. And Nancy Pelosi is like super slow walk. Well, it has to be, because otherwise, like, there's no future for these older Democrats. They tried the third way Democrats. They tried it with Hillary Clinton, and it was a disaster. Like, it should have been a cakewalk. It should have been super easy. But
I'm just thinking that, it's not to say that it's even a good representation of what the majority of people think. It's just, it's really scary when you have things like this testimony and then you read people's responses, and even if they're gut responses or if they're sitting there just trying to make jokes or be witty or whatever, it's scary reading some of it, because even if you were to say it's only like 10% of them that are legitimately feeling that way, they're at least putting the ideas out there that's like, oh, well, this is this, and this is why he wouldn't say it. It's because there's nothing here. It's just a witch hunt. And they completely forget what actual unfounded, attacks on people used to look like. They don't even realize what the Red Scare really looked like. Obviously I can't speak firsthand, I'm not that old or anything, but it's just when you look in history and you see like what does that actually look like, versus they want to, not to get too off topic, but versus they'll look at things like the kids and the families at the border and they'll go, that's not a concentration camp. Well, it sure as heck does look a lot like what we did to the Japanese.
Yeah, internment camps at the very least, but it's worse because the Japanese had toothbrushes and showers.
Yeah, so I mean, all you have to do is break down those comparisons for people, but then there's people that'll still go, well, then they shouldn't be even coming over here.
Yeah,
like,
they're not.
These are people who were already, a lot of them were already here. Some of them are actually citizens.
Going through the process. Yeah, and a lot of them are going through a process to become legal. They're in the process, and that's when they get caught, a lot of them.
They set traps.
They set traps, like, on Tinder, or, like, they'll, like, tell...
I heard about that.
Yeah, and then they'll tell, like, or they'll tell the kids there, oh, like, your parent is, like, it's got their ID stolen. We need to, like, you need to have them come home real quick. So they come home real quick, and they're like, oh, we lied. we're immigration. We're here to kidnap you. Like, they're evil, dude. They're Nazi stuff. It's awful.
I've almost wanted to make the argument for people. So, if you have such a problem with illegals coming through Mexico and you want to build this wall, then why don't you also want to build a wall up north?
Yeah, in Canada, yeah.
Like, why don't you want to use the strategy for any border that we can identify? Why don't you want there to be like a nice, like, I'm forgetting the word, where it was a wall basically at the shoreline for anybody that they had to pass through, even coming in on boats. Like, why is it that the only border we seem to care about is the Mexico border?
Well, clearly because that's where brown people come from. And this whole thing is about racism. It's not about white immigration, it's about brown immigration.
Yes, but I think sometimes those stupid hypothetical questions like I just posed, where it's like, why don't you want a Canadian wall? Like, it would at
Oh.
least force them to address, like, well, that's not where they're. No. That is also where some illegals come from, and that is also.
I don't like
where...
that term, illegals. Yeah.
True, but I mean that's usually the way.
Illegal
that they try
immigrants.
To, yeah,
People aren't illegal.
That's where they try to. Well, I mean, as far as staying here for a prolonged period without even going through.
Yeah,
the process.
well, there's still illegal immigrants, but they're not illegals. I don't like that term. That term is like dehumanizing.
Yeah, but it's like these things that are happening, these issues that they have, the like trafficking of people and drugs. It comes from all over, and I can't say for sure based on who was funding it or backing it or supporting it. Everything's biased anymore, but I have heard arguments that there's more numbers, higher numbers coming through airplane traffic and coming from the north than coming from the south.
Overstaying your visa, not crossing the border. You're right. You're correct. At least half, like of the majority. The majority of it is people coming on a plane and then overstaying their visa. You're totally correct.
Oh,
I mean, I know people like this. So that's another reason why you show that this border thing is a racist idea. It has nothing to do with actual illegal immigration. It has everything to do with racism.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure I don't remember if you saw my comment where I was like, but I should probably just go back to where I came from, which is like 50 minutes from where I live. But but like looking at me, I'm thankful that I have not heard anybody try and say that to me. Although I have had cars come, that drove by and somebody was like shouting something outside their window, but I don't know if that was even at me or what they were saying. But luckily I have not heard the, go back to where you came from or anything like that.
It's super interesting for me because growing up I looked a lot more Asian. So I got some Asian like hate at me.
Yeah.
And then, but on the internet, like you can't see me. You see my last name, Gonzalez. So I get told all the time to go back, and that they're gonna call ICE on me, and that ICE is coming to get me. Oh yeah, they're like,
and see,
they use ICE like it's Gestapo, and they're all about it. Yeah, dude, it's total hate.
And it's such a conflict because what do? Do you actually want to sit there and like correct them and be like,
oh no, they're trolls.
No. Well, I know that, but I mean, just in general, when you run into things like that where people make assumptions about you because, hey, my last name looks like this, and they go, you must be this then, and like, do you really want to sit there and like try and correct them? Because then it almost seems like you have a problem.
Oh, you got trolled.
Well, you feel like you have a problem with being mistaken.
Like, don't correct them.
Mistaken as Hispanic or something.
No, I mean, what I do is I point out that it's hate. That's what I do.
Oh,
I don't play their game.
I know that's what you do.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
saying
play
like
their game.
the general question for people is like, well, do I even want to correct people?
No,
when they have
because
those...
if you correct them, that means you're playing their game. What you do is you go, hey, that's racist. What you're doing, that's racist. Like, and then you make it about them again. It's not about you. It's about them.
Even outside of hostility, though, like if somebody just goes, "Oh, Gonzalez," like, "Oh, so like what part of Mexico are you from?" or something like that, then you kind of get that sense of, well, do I correct them because they're wrong?
Do you
but
see
there's
that to
nothing
white
wrong.
people? Like, oh, what part of Europe are you from?
Exactly, but it's like there's nothing wrong with being Hispanic, but I happen to not be Hispanic.
Yeah, well, I mean,
actually,
it's interesting. My history is a little interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, I've got a story. Yeah.
But
but like
back on the original topic. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the report, like, and Mueller's testimony.
Yeah. So when I watched it, what I saw was, okay, yeah, the Republicans and Democrats had different strategies as to how they would question Mueller. And so, yeah, the Democrats more or less just read the report back to him.
Yeah. There was one, and I can't remember all their names, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there was one who just flat out asked, "Are you saying that if he were not president, or after he's president, you could bring up criminal charges against him?"
Yeah, and Mueller's like, absolutely.
And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that ends it. Like, I tried not to go in too biased or anything like that. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm one of these people that's just like everything that the Democratic Party is trying to do is, because sometimes I even go like, impeachment feels like a waste of time. We just need to prevent him from being reelected. Like,
no, impeachment is not a waste of time. It's absolutely necessary.
But sometimes because it's such a long process, like he would be like, if we should have
started a long time ago.
If we managed to prevent him from gaining, like, the problem is that the Republicans will definitely paint it as just an absolute waste of time. They will not.
Of course.
They will not acknowledge the integrity that is being lost on just the entire political system with him.
But we don't operate based on what Republicans like. If we, you're
right now we are. Right now we are.
No, you shouldn't though, because you got to go on what's right.
But our system is forced to. It's not. I'm not talking individually. I'm talking the system is forced to go with the Republicans because the Democrats always want to back down on what they see as right, and as long as the majority falls to Republicans, they get to push their agenda just a little bit harder.
I don't know.
Why do we have states now going back on Roe v. Wade? It's because they have just the right amount of Republican push going on. So now we're looking at like mothers who can have a miscarriage and they can be brought up on criminal charges. How backwards is that?
Yeah, of course. But
how
we
if,
had a coup? That's why.
Yeah. But if we had a sensible, at least even a sensible balance between the parties, things like that could not be passed.
Yeah, no. You misunderstand. The Republicans are like a hostile party. They're hostile to the United States. They I look at it totally different, right? I look at it as the Republican Party is the Confederacy reborn. They want to destroy the Union.
Are you talking period,
right now?
Or are you talking?
No,
you're
right
talking
now.
Right now.
Now. Right now, the Confederacy has been. I mean, it was never defeated. It was never like destroyed utterly. Instead, it staged a coup. Okay, so back in the day, I think I told you this. Back in the day, yeah, sure, the Lincoln led the Union to a military victory over the Confederacy, a military victory. They occupied the Confederates' territory, and the Confederates no longer had territory anymore. But the Confederates staged a coup and assassinated Lincoln, and the guy who replaced Lincoln was Andrew Johnson, who was a Southern apologist, and he prevented the Congress, at that time Republican Congress, from enacting any serious reform of the South, any serious, like, anything. So a lot of the Southern power structure was preserved, and that means the spirit of the Confederacy never went away. It just lost its territory, but then maintained and became like a Cold War within the federal government.
Okay. Yeah, no, we've never had that full-on discussion.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm all about. That's what, like, a lot of this podcast is, my show's about, It's because when you look at that, when you look at things in that framework, everything makes sense. That's why Mitch McConnell was okay with helping the Russians take over the country, because Mitch McConnell doesn't adhere or doesn't pledge loyalty to the Constitution. He pledges loyalty to the Confederacy. So for him, it's no big deal getting Russian help in overthrowing the United States to install the Confederacy, because that's what they want to install. And you can see it in all their policies. It's all about white supremacy, their policies, and patriarchy.
I mean, I can definitely kind of flow with that last part. I mean, as far as the going back into history, I always have a hard time with that because it's really hard to delve into and get the proper research and backup for certain things like that.
Okay, well, but just look at it. I mean, okay, but you know that Andrew Johnson wasn't, like, you don't know, but check it up.
Andrew Johnson was one of the worst.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. That's like the key part, because if Andrew Johnson preserved the Confederacy, then how would it manifest? Well, it would manifest in things like Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, if you go to Louisiana, they have basically slavery. Like,
no. The things you were mentioning, like the only one that I would be like, I can't necessarily 100% get on board with is the I guess the picture of the conspiracy on the assassination, just because I've never heard any of that information really mapped out before.
Well,
so
I mean, I don't know if it was
a
conspiracy. I didn't say conspiracy, but the facts are, Andrew Johnson was a Southern sympathizer. He's from Tennessee, so, and the facts are he did stop the Republican Congress from enacting all of their reforms, and he was almost impeached. He was one of the guys who almost got impeached. He was impeached, and he was almost removed and convicted, and he made it by one vote.
Yeah, because it's him, Clinton, and then they always say Nixon would have been if he had resigned first.
Yeah, but and so then you can see the results of the failure of Reformation. Because you can see in all the former Confederate states, it was just like the Confederacy. It's as if the Confederacy still had power.
I mean, I don't deny that there are definitely people right now, people in power, that their biggest problem, it's not anything social, it's not hardly anything economical or about the military. Sometimes it just comes right down to they don't like brown people.
Yeah, racism.
I mean, it really does. And I don't think, like, the thing is, if you are not racist, then what would be the biggest harm to you for pushing against any kind of bigotry or double standard treatment towards people of color? Like, if you do not say, like, I'm benefiting off of this, then it just like with the women's movement, it's like, well, if you don't have anything to gain from keeping women down, then why wouldn't you want to bring women up?
Yeah.
So if you don't have a problem with generally people of a darker skin, then why would you not want to investigate when, some people are shot and they're found to be completely unarmed and they were shot in the back, and the only thing the cop can say is, well, they scared me. Yeah, a lot of power players, they hate brown people and they hate women, and I think they're unfortunately making pretty good hedgeway on both of those, but especially in the South, I almost feel like it's more towards women than it actually is towards brown people. Probably because brown people have already been pretty oppressed and kept
In the
down
South?
in the South, that now they're targeting women. Because I cannot get over, I'm sorry, I cannot get over the things that they're passing when it comes to like just reproductive health down there. Ooh. Cough or sneeze.
Cough, yeah, sorry.
I mean, we're to the point now where it's like, even if a woman is at risk of dying because of her pregnancy, she can't have an abortion. So who's raising the baby?
Well, I mean, they don't care. I mean, that's patriarchy, and yeah,
Well,
they just want women to be baby factories, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, and especially brown women, and I'm sure they actually would prefer if most of the brown women would just die. Because I've seen it mostly that the whole thing really pushed when it comes to brown women. But yeah, so I mean, that's part of my issue whenever I see these things going on with the testimonies and the debates, is that it just always feels like it doesn't even matter what information's presented. It's what people want to read into it.
I don't know. I don't think everyone's like that.
I don't think everybody's like that, but I think it's a pretty big percentage. Not I'm not saying like even 50-50, but I'm saying like maybe even 30%. And considering they're probably also pretty vocal people, then that's where the problem comes in. Because I don't feel like we'd be in the situation that we're in without a lot of just vocal people painting the wrong picture. And
Well, media, you mean? Yeah. Well, there is a media propaganda network. I mean, that's what Fox News is. It's pure propaganda. It tricks people, just lies about stuff, and people eat it up.
I don't really like any of the major media sources. Not anymore.
Well,
Because now I feel like they're all kind of, while some of them are not in support of Trump, they will still really undermine, like for instance during the debate, they feel like, oh, I totally made a mistake, but I'm not sure about Democrats of what they're even talking about.
characterizing
Yeah,
their stuff.
and so that wasn't even their policy, and you missed the whole point. What? He did dodge that question. I'm not sure I want to go ahead and follow somebody who can't even talk about all these fancy policies that they keep talking about. And it just really generically would otherwise at least vote against Trump, doesn't even like the people on the other side. And I think that was the problem that we had that got Trump elected in the first place, is there were enough people who didn't necessarily even like Trump, but they hated Hillary. And unfortunately, we're in a system where people think that all they have is just, this should abstain from voting. Like, if you don't like either person, just don't vote. They're older. I know them personally. I have known them for years. I thought that they
Okay,
had better.
Can you hold on for a second? Like, my stream
Yeah.
is like dying here. I don't know what the deal is. I think Discord might be too much bandwidth.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm watching it. It's like choking out on me.
Oh no. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
I turned off the music. Let me see if that helps. Where are the settings at? I can't look at them because I'm streaming. It might be because it's the middle of the day.
Yeah, these are like prime hours.
All right. Well, okay. I guess it's all right.
Okay. I was just gonna say I know a couple of people very well, and I thought that they had, you know, a better sense about themselves, better heads on their shoulder. I remember them saying that when it looked like Bernie last time wasn't going to be making it through the primary, I remember them saying, well, if it's not Bernie, then I'm voting for Trump.
Oh man, yeah.
And it's
That's
like,
what happened a lot, I think.
well, and I almost wonder, not to keep harping back on this topic, but I keep wondering, like, was that kind of, was that almost getting sexist? Because they're completely opposite
Mhm.
ends. The only thing that those two men have in common is that they're older,
No, they're
they're white.
outsiders. They're
No,
outsiders.
but
That's what it was. It was because neither one of them was establishment. So if they couldn't get Bernie, then well, the other outsider was Trump. Even though he's not really an
no,
outsider, but
no, I can't imagine that somebody just wanted somebody who was not a typical politician would actually say, I support Bernie, and then when Bernie wasn't an option, go, well, I guess I'm supporting Trump now.
why not? I mean,
Because
if you weren't gonna vote anyways, and all of a sudden you have these two options that are totally unlike anything you've ever had. Yeah, and then if you
no,
lose one of the
these are people
options.
who these are people who are
Oh,
gonna vote.
oh, okay.
They just absolutely would not vote for Hillary.
Yeah, that's weird. I think that's propaganda.
It was the Bernie or bust thing, and I
No,
think
I don't. I mean,
that's what
that
they were.
okay,
That's what
but
they
that
were.
was
That's
pretty
what I'm
small.
saying.
That thing was small. There weren't a whole lot of people that were Bernie or bust.
But they exist, and that's the scary thing, is that there are people who seem fairly normal. Like if you met them, you could sense like they are old, they have a little bit of they do have some bigotry, they do have some old fashionedness, but you would not think, talking to them, that they would honestly vote Trump.
Oh man, you'd be surprised how many people I ran into that, are smart people otherwise, but but all of a sudden you bring up politics and they're like brainwashed. You would not, yeah, tons of people, tons and tons and tons of people.
And what also upset me was that they would always kind of sit there and they would talk about how Obama had made the country so much worse for people like them. And I'm thinking, in what way?
Yeah,
Like, like I can look back and I can go, okay, Obama was a little bit more to the center than we all were hoping for back in like 2008. That I can accept. I can totally agree. But to say that he really made anybody's life worse, to me only means that he maybe held you accountable, or
oh
he
no, oh
took
sorry,
away your privilege.
oh okay, sorry, I almost died, a horrible death. Ah! Okay,
You died?
no, I almost did. I almost died a
Oh.
horrible death. So
But yeah, like that's the only thing I can think of, is that there were some people who were just like, I'm sorry, my politician, or at least my commander in chief, must be a white male.
well, they're racist. So I mean, that's the whole thing, right? That's what I'm trying to get to. That's the tension inside of the United States. That's been there since the very beginning. It's like either there's one side that wants ethno-fascism, and the other side is striving toward liberalism, like the classic liberalism. And that's the tension. That's exactly what it is. Um, they're two incompatible ideas. They don't match. They don't fit. You can't fit them. Oh God. Okay. Um. Yeah. They just don't they don't mesh. It will never happen. So they have to kill each other. Like they can't coexist. Liberalism and fascism can't coexist. So that's what we're in right now. And like one side, yeah, the Democrats, as representing modern liberalism, like seem pretty timid and hamstrung. But that's because of the nature of warfare. They try to treat the Republicans as if they have good faith, and that was a mistake. Uh,
Well, like one of the things that, again, another comment, and I'm not negating the idea that these are trolls, except that, I mean, it just sometimes it seems like you can go through the whole video's comments, and everybody just seems to be in agreement that they're on this side of the fence.
well, if you're on the
And
internet,
there's
that's different because a lot of those are just robots and spam accounts.
Yeah, but I mean, so if that's the case, like, I'm a real person, I'm going through and I'm seeing that. And for me, it's going, oh God, it's like we really need to step up and make sure that we're voting the way that we feel. And if it's in opposition of this, all those people who are in opposition of this really need to make sure that they get out there and they go and they don't sit there and go, oh yeah, is it election day? Oh, I forgot. Like, don't forget. Put it on your, freaking calendar. It's easy. Like, if you pay any minute amount of attention to what's going on, you hear plenty of days ahead of time. Remember, Tuesday's election day. Remember, Tuesday's
I don't know,
election
but are
day.
you?
Like,
I mean, are you chastising? Are you like criticizing people for not voting?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a problem. But remember, also the other side of it is that there's one party that's actively trying to get you to not vote. They're trying to stop you from voting.
Well, so there's a difference between
Voter
saying
suppression.
things. Yeah, there's a difference between saying things. There's a difference between giving people the impression that their side already has certain things in the basket. They don't need to worry about their one single little vote. And there's a difference between legally trying to suppress people and going, well, you need to provide ID. Well, no, not this ID. You need to provide this other ID. Well, what about a picture ID? Well, no, what about a state issued picture ID
Yeah,
that also has this other information on it? And they just keep, for some
yeah,
people, certain people, they will say, you need to bring us all of this to prove who you
yeah,
are.
because it's
And
voter
another
suppression.
person,
That's what I'm
and
talking about.
another, I
So
know, but I'm saying,
it's not always people just lazy. Sometimes a lot of it is like they're discouraged. They're actively discouraged to make it harder to vote, so that you're gonna be
well,
like, I don't want to even bother now.
yeah,
So
well,
like, yeah,
but we're talking about some different things, because I've met a lot of people, and I realize Oregon's not a huge problem for our stance on certain issues. Oregon typically falls into the liberal side of things, but I've met a lot of people who kind of go, well, we're so late in the game on election night, it doesn't actually matter how we turn out. And
yeah.
they negate the.
That's why I want to do a popular vote, so that we can get rid of this idea of my vote not counting or whatever. Because if you're doing a popular vote, your vote's gonna count.
But see, that's the thing, is, and I totally agree, even with what I'm about to say, for Oregon, that's actually the problem for the people who lean towards the right. Their votes do not really matter, because Oregon often
What?
falls heavily. Yeah, Oregon usually falls heavily blue, and all of our electoral votes go blue.
Uh huh.
So that's part of why East Oregon is always so pissed off and wants to become actual East Oregon versus West Oregon, is because they don't feel like when it comes to the major election, their votes actually count.
I guess you can. I mean, that's true of every state, though.
There are some states that actually split their electoral vote.
Ye-
At the very least, if we could not get rid of the electoral college, I'd prefer we split the electoral
Yeah,
votes based on percentage. So if some state gets
proportional.
40 to 60, then try and split those things as much, 40-60 as possible.
Well, Vermont is sort of like that already.
Yeah, I mean there are only a couple of them,
Yeah, I
but
don't know if I
mostly
like that idea.
that would actually be closer to a popular vote, though.
Yeah, no, I'd
The
rather just get rid of electoral college. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I'm
So
saying
that,
if
yeah,
I'm
no,
saying a
because even
leeway
that little,
compromise,
yeah,
because you
no,
could trick people. You could trick people into believing you're not giving up the electoral college. You're splitting the electoral votes how they fall.
yeah, no, I don't like that idea though, and I don't know why, but I don't like it. I know other
Maybe
states
because
have
it's a
done it,
compromise.
but I don't like it. I want to just get rid of the electoral college.
Maybe you don't like it because it's a compromise versus a straight on like change in the direction that you would
Yeah,
desire.
yeah, because there's
But the thing
problems.
is,
There's problems with even splitting the electoral college vote. I mean, you still have the electoral college and all the problems, but now you've just atomized the problem, made it even more complicated. Like, instead of making it more complicated, make it easier. Like,
how does it make it more complicated?
because or it's great. Now we have to not only do we have to vote in this election, but like, yeah, our vote gets split depending
So,
on.
so the electoral college.
So you okay? So what you're doing is you're giving extra power to rural voters. You're like, you poor rural voters, you aren't getting a bone. So we're gonna willingly give rural voters more power.
No, I
Yeah, yeah.
mean
I mean,
to a
that's
to
what
a
you want to do, though,
degree.
right? That's what you want to do. You're saying that rural voters don't have enough power, and you want to increase the power of the rural voter. So the way you do that is you split the vote that would normally go to all to like the winner of the vote. We're gonna split it with
So
the rural, so they get some.
so so you agree with some people not having their votes counted
No, I agree with the popular vote.
because
I agree
the
with the
electoral
popular vote.
college is supposed to be based on population. So we get 7. I don't
But it's
remember
not.
what.
It's supposed to be, but it's not. Because right now, the way that electoral college is set up, voters in Wyoming are worth more than voters in California. And that's what happens when with the electoral college. And when you split the vote, when you split the electoral college vote within a state, you give extra, even more power to the rural votes.
Yeah, no, that is true. That's because we made it so that everybody also gets like this base value. And
Yeah,
then we tack on the population. But if we made it just population, and really for Oregon, what it would probably be is it would be 5 blue to 2 red.
yeah. Okay. Well,
And that
no.
still would not, I mean, that
Still,
still
I'd
would
rather.
not make the biggest difference.
Yeah, no, I'd rather
But
do
then you'd
popular
have
vote.
things like Pennsylvania where they went for Trump last time, but instead of it being all Trump, I mean it would balance itself out and it would get rid of the argument that the Republicans keep going about, well, we need to keep the electoral college.
No, we don't need to keep the electoral college.
We
I want
don't. I am totally agreeing with you on the getting rid of it. I'm saying a nice way of maybe
compromise. You're saying
transitioning.
is
Maybe
to
maybe
give.
one time, maybe one electoral period, we're able to get it to where it's like, hey, let's just split all the
No,
electoral
no,
college,
I have
and then the
no
next
desire
time
to give rural
around.
voters more power. I have no desire. I have zero interest in giving rural voters more power. Zero.
Are you assuming rural means conservative?
Of course. That's the only reason why you do it. I mean, I don't
Are
see
you
any
thinking
progressives
that
making
there's
that argument. I see right-wing people make that argument.
so I mean, you realize you're in like a pink city, right?
Yes.
I mean, Salem's not, not a rural,
It's
but
pretty rural.
I mean, you're comparing it to like places you've been, like LA and San Francisco,
And
but
Portland,
yeah,
and
those are the biggest cities though.
but yeah, well,
When
that's
you're
where a lot of
talking,
people live, right? And then so
but when
and
you're
then
talking
the
Oregon,
idea is that urban areas tend to be more liberal,
but when you're
and
talking like
for good
Oregon,
reason.
Oregon, it's like Portland, Eugene, Salem, maybe someplace like Wilsonville, but there's very few like. And then you get over on the east. I mean, Bend counts on the east.
Yeah.
Bend
So,
probably
but the
counts
problem is that,
rural,
or what I'm saying
but
though,
it's
is that
liberal.
yeah, and those are all people, and those are it's not just those are people who numbers. Those are numbers. So okay, so they're all concentrated in these cities, but it's numbers of people. So the argument a lot of rural people make is that, well, this land, we have a lot of land. This land should vote. We should give the land a vote. And since land can't vote, instead of giving land the vote, we should strengthen the vote of the rural people to make it for all the land they have, all this empty land. And and it
I
doesn't make
don't
sense. It doesn't make sense. It's like, no, land doesn't vote. It doesn't get represented.
know what they're voting for, or what they're arguing for, is that their counties get to like count as like a whole electoral vote. They're hoping that, like, for instance, like that um why am I
Yeah,
Multnomah County?
they want to
They want
give more
Multnomah
power.
County to only count as one, where it has, like 1,000% more people than, say, your Jackson County or
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly. They
And they
want to.
want no, but I'm not talking about it like that. I'm just talking about when you get to the percentage of our votes for now, that the electoral votes get split, so that, yeah, I mean, the same thing happens the other way around in other states, where there's a state that goes completely red, but maybe it's like
Yeah,
40
like
60,
Alabama, right? You have a bunch of
but
people
maybe but
in.
maybe it's 40 60, that 40% blue aren't getting counted as blue.
Yeah, so that's why I want to get rid of. Um,
I mean, ultimately, popular vote. It's just that there's
yeah,
so much pushback. Sometimes
by
you need
whom?
like that gateway.
But who's doing the pushback?
The Republicans,
Yeah,
because they
so
know that
of course,
the current system, like you're saying, you want to get rid of the current system
yes,
because it'll give rurals more power, but
yes,
they
or
have the
because
red have the
no,
most
no,
power right now.
I want to get rid of the current system because the rurals have too much power. The electoral college gives rurals a lot more power.
It does give them more power than
Yeah,
they
so I want
should.
to get rid of the electoral college because it's not fair. It's not fair
It should
that
just be vote to vote,
yeah, I mean it's not fair that rural
especially
votes
since we can
cost
count the
more.
numbers.
Yeah, and
Like,
so
that's the thing I never understood, is we've already gotten to the point where we can count the numbers. Why don't we just read those numbers and go with it?
yeah, I mean the argument is from the rurals is that, oh, then we'll get overwhelmed by the cities. Well,
Yeah.
that's the way it is, right? There's more people. That's how democracy works. That's I
I'm
mean
just
all
I'm
the
just saying,
Republican presidents like have lost the popular vote for the past like what 5 Republican presidents. Like they
no.
haven't won the popular vote. It's terrible. Like it's been a minority president all this time. It's so stupid. There's no reason why a minority why we should go with a minority president. Like who gets a minority of vote of the population.
I mean, Obama had popular,
Yeah. Yep.
but Bush did not.
No, Trump did not.
Well, yeah, obviously he didn't.
Yeah,
And
and
he,
then I think a few more didn't either. I have to look it up, but yeah. The, so
but no, I'm not trying to like argue what you're saying. I'm just saying, as that like gateway, that step towards progression, because it is really hard sometimes to make the full leap
I'm
as
not going
a
backwards.
no
I
no
don't want to
no
go.
no, but to
By
leap
splitting the
forward.
by splitting the electoral vote, that's moving backwards. That's saying, okay,
I think it's an in between to getting to the popular vote,
nope,
because
I'm
then
not.
you would have those like 40% blue that are then counted as blue
No,
again. And
there's more liberals than conservatives in this country. So
exactly.
yeah,
So
I
then
don't
the
have
red
any.
states would no
There's no
longer be
reason.
red states.
So there's no reason. I have no reason to throw. I have no desire to throw conservatives a bone. I
But
don't
you're
understand
thinking
why you want to. I don't get it. It's like, man, these poor conservatives, they want to have more power. We should
I'm
just give it to them.
not.
I'm like,
I
no.
want I want states like New Mexico to stop being seen as a fully red state, because their liberal voters, all the votes just go red because
Yeah, well,
that's what they're sick.
in a popular vote, it doesn't matter, right? Everyone will vote and their vote will count the same. So
Exactly. Yes, it would. So
that's why.
I will drop this. I will drop this. Because I'm just talking about like a leeway, a trail getting to the ultimate goal of a popular vote.
Yeah,
But
no, that's
sometimes
not. That's going the wrong direction. That's going backwards. Because the goal
so we
of
want states to stay where they're, I mean, we want them, if they're not willing to go popular, then we're going to just settle for the state going to whoever got the
well, it's not up to
51%.
them. As soon as there's 100, as soon as there's 270 electoral college votes. Okay, so there's a compact. You know about this. There's a compact, a law going around that says that the state is going to award their electoral college votes to whoever wins the popular vote, and that'll start as soon as enough states sign up to this compact to equal 270 votes, electoral college votes, which is more than half. So once that happens, it doesn't matter what the other states do, because you'll have such a big block that you'll be the kingmaker. So if New Mexico doesn't want to come along, that's fine. Other states will eventually, to the point where it won't matter. As soon as we hit that magic number, and I think Oregon just signed on to it. So I think it's up to like 170, and we need like 270 electoral college votes. And as soon as that happens, then all these states will give their electoral college votes to the winner of the popular vote. So sure, the other states who don't agree to this, they can do whatever they want with their votes, but they don't have enough total to make a difference.
I'm just wondering how that gets implemented when some of the states have already been counted. Then
because it hasn't been put into effect yet.
Yeah, but I'm saying when it goes into effect. So they're still having an electoral college.
Mm-hmm.
And then then they're counting those as well as the popular vote. And honestly, the way our media goes, they're counting the electoral college more than the popular.
Okay.
But then they'll, at the end of the counting, they'll look at the popular vote, and then they'll retroactively take back the electoral college votes.
No. So the night of the election, they'll have the election. Everyone votes. The next day, if everything goes smoothly, we'll know who won the popular vote. Within a couple days, we'll know who won the popular vote. Then down a few months later or whenever it happens, when they go do the electoral college, the states who have signed this compact and who have agreed, all their delegates are going to vote for whoever won the popular vote.
Oh yeah, and see, I always forget about that. You're depending on delegates.
Well, I mean,
there were a lot of delegates that said that they were going to vote Bernie despite it being down to Trump and Clinton, and then they went in to vote, and they were like, well, that's a waste. We're not going to actually do that. So I mean,
Well,
if
I
a
don't think
similar
no.
thing could happen,
Oh,
is
some
that I mean,
delegates. Yeah. Well, I mean that.
if you're leaving it to people, people can change their mind.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it is. I mean, that's how our system works.
So I mean, that's probably depending
So okay.
too
So
much. Then we're talking. Let's just do the popular vote. Why are we even? Because then your
because you
that
have to change
system
the
is still.
Constitution. Otherwise, you have to change the Constitution, and to change the Constitution takes a lot of work. This method doesn't require a change of the Constitution. You can keep the Constitution exactly the way it is, but no other change, and still make this happen. But if you try to literally get rid of the Electoral College, then you have to change the Constitution, and to do that, you need 3/5 of the states. Or
So you're going back and making my argument again.
What do you mean?
Because I was saying it's a lot of trouble to completely get away from the Electoral College right now. Like,
if you try to do a constitutional amendment, yes. But if you don't try to do a constitutional amendment, it's not that bad. A constitutional amendment's almost impossible. But the compact is possible, and it's going on. It's happening now. Bit by bit.
Okay, we'll see how that works.
Yeah, like look it up. It's states are joining on bit by bit. You don't need to alter the Constitution. That's why it'll.
And work. I'm sure it's the ones that get counted towards the end anyway that are saying, "Hey, we'll just follow suit because our Electoral College votes don't really."
No, it's the liberal states that are going along with it. Because liberal states
that's actually really dangerous. That's actually really dangerous.
Well, they know that they get screwed out of the Electoral College vote. So the Electoral College helps conservatives. It doesn't conservative states, because conservative states are the ones that have low population, and
I mean, it does, and part of it. Well, yeah, when you're talking about like middle of the country states, whether you did the percentage split or not, it'd be like 10% liberal to like 90%.
Well, I don't think it's that bad. Some, like maybe the deep south, but this country's a lot more purple than you think.
No, I know it's very purple. That's why I was saying if we could at least get the Electoral College to split in a way that looks like the popular vote.
Yeah, no. It wouldn't look like the popular vote.
How is that possible that splitting the Electoral College wouldn't look like?
Well, we already have it sort of split with Vermont, right, and these other states, and the end result was Hillary Clinton 500 plus votes, 5 million plus votes more than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is president. That's what split.
When you don't have the same system across the country, yeah.
But I mean, how would
that's the thing is we do all need to be on the same. We do all need to be on the same page.
How did Vermont split? Yeah, I don't think that would help. I'm telling you. Because what you're doing is you're throwing a bone to. You're saying we're going to preserve a system that gives extra power to rural voters. You're telling me we need to make this system work, and I'm like, it's no.
So you're just scared of states like California where it goes completely blue and there's a few sections that are red that don't get their votes counted, but you're not thinking about like the middle of the state and the South where tons of liberal voters don't get their votes counted.
Yeah, I am thinking of it, and they will get their vote counted with a popular vote.
That takes an amendment to the Constitution.
No, it doesn't take an amendment.
Happen.
No, it doesn't take an amendment to the Constitution. It requires 270 votes worth of states to sign on to this compact.
That's a transitional system. That's going from our Electoral College towards a popular vote, but it's actually something in the middle.
But it maintains the electoral college. That's so you don't have
Yeah.
to change the constitution.
So it's something in the middle. It's a hybrid. It's not actually the popular vote.
It is the popular vote, because whoever wins the popular vote becomes president, because all of the states, 270 electoral college votes worth of states all vote for the popular vote, which makes them the president.
But you're still hanging that up on
The popular
the
vote.
Delegates.
Well, yeah, they're gonna
promising to abide by.
Assuming delegates follow the law. You're right.
And I've never actually looked into who makes sure delegates are upholding the law.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's just blind faith on the American public part.
But you probably wouldn't go if you didn't. You wouldn't volunteer to be delegate, because they're not paid. So you wouldn't volunteer to be a delegate unless you were really into the system.
I don't think they volunteer.
They do.
Well, I think they kind of volunteer, but I think they're also picked.
Yeah, chosen, but then you have to volunteer to be chosen.
I would gladly volunteer to be chosen. I'm the kind of person who wants to go to jury duty, because I feel like
volunteer. You should be volunteering for some campaigns. Well, once the presidential campaign, volunteer and
I'm definitely doing
and
that.
Then you can find a way to become a delegate. Oh yeah, they wanted during the Bernie campaign, or they wanted everyone to sign up to be delegate.
Yeah, a
lot of people are like, nah, I can't do it. Sorry. They would love it if you would come along.
Yeah, I've heard stories about delegates and how they're picked, and that they have to be completely anonymous.
No.
If you volunteer, I mean, there's a lot of things you can volunteer for. People don't want the volunteer, like jury duty. People don't want volunteers because your eagerness makes it seem like you have an agenda.
Yeah, well, no, they'll take you. they want the people with agendas.
But they don't know if your agenda matches their agenda.
Yeah, but if you're volunteering,
for instance, they're thinking that Bernie already has moles on his campaign that are trying to undermine him again.
Yeah, well, that's every campaign. I guess.
But then that's also like with my union, where we had somebody the last time the union was voting, we had somebody who was trying to get the position of leadership, who openly stated in everything he did for running that he thought the union was useless, and he really wanted to tear it down, and was hoping that people would vote for him, wanting to basically destroy the union. That's part of this twisted thinking that we have to deal with now when it comes to people offering up their time and services. Well, what are they also trying to accomplish with that? And I'm not saying to get paranoid about everybody. I'm just saying, unfortunately, there has to be some measures to make sure that people are genuine in what they're offering.
I guess, yeah.
But I'm sorry. I did not mean to just throw you into election stuff. I remember being in middle school and watching the whole Gore Bush thing happening, and I was not old enough. I was not old enough to vote, and it just made me dive really deep into what it was that we did when we voted, and what was the process, and what was the electoral college, and how did the states get their numbers.
Got you involved.
Well, I mean, I was interested, but then that made me angry.
Yeah. Oh man, I was protesting. I was trying to tell people. I was a grad student then. Oh man, I was insane. I went crazy because people didn't understand how bad it was. How bad it was.
Especially upset me that what it looked like was mostly because we were looking at Florida, but honestly, Florida was just the biggest example. I'm sure other states had the exact same issues that we had Florida, where all these people were coming in to testify that they didn't think that their votes were counted, and the majority of them were black.
Yeah, well, God, Florida's totally racist. That's under the control of Confederates. I hate it. Like, that the people passed a referendum to give ex-felons the right to vote. And then so the majority Republican legislature then passed a poll tax that said, well, you can't vote until you pay off your debt that you've accumulated while you've been in prison, which makes it pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like yeah, that's exactly a perfect example of the Confederacy reincarnated is Florida.
Yeah. Um to backtrack to the testimony, they were trying to continuously bring up lying witnesses. And I
didn't get that. I didn't hear the lying witnesses so much as I heard it about Steele, the Steele dossier, and Peter Strzok, the FBI agent, Strzok and Page. That's what I remember hearing over and over and over again.
I'm trying to remember the person's name. Unfortunately, like normally something like this I might want to like take notes, but since I was at work, it was just like the testimony was going on in one ear while I was doing all my paperwork. But yeah, it sounded like somebody was called as a witness off of somebody else. Suggestion.
So the Republicans were trying to paint an alternate reality. That was their goal.
Yeah.
So
their own reality. Yeah.
So what they were trying to say was that the FBI investigation started with the Steele dossier, and the Steele dossier came from the Clintons. So what they want to say is that the FBI investigation is no good because it should have focused on Clinton. and the way they try to back this up was with by saying, "Oh, look at this FBI agents. They were pro-Clinton FBI agents, so that proves our conspiracy." And Mueller was like, not like whatever. Like he was he listened because he couldn't and he denied whatever he could, but they wouldn't let him. It wasn't even about Mueller. They just wanted to spew their lies. Oh, I hated it. Is that what you're talking about? Like,
I know there was like a individual that his name, I guess, had only come up through the, I guess, testimony of somebody else during the investigation, and they believed that what it was that somebody who was anti-Trump, who was
Strzok and Page, right? Those are the FBI agents.
No, they were it wasn't. Those aren't the names that it was specifically a witness name.
Misfud, like Papadopoulos, and then
Papadopoulos.
Yeah, that guy is convicted of lying to the FBI. Yeah. And
yes. So so I just remember a section of testimony where Papadopoulos was brought up a lot, and the idea was, well, this witness was a liar, so how do we not know all of your witnesses were liars? And that just really concerned me because it's one of those almost like those earworms for people who aren't paying deeper attention to things, where they go, wait, one of the witnesses in this entire investigation was a liar. Maybe they're just
all of them were. They got convicted on lying.
Maybe they're all just maybe they're all just plants against Trump, and they
No,
don't
the other way
pay
around.
attention.
That's
Yeah,
why they got convicted of lying.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I don't think that was clearly marked out in what direction they were lying.
Well,
It was
yeah,
just, it
they're
was just
lying.
the Republicans were just like, well, this person was lying. How do we not know all your other witnesses and all your stuff against Trump is no lie too?
Yeah,
You're
see,
all just,
that doesn't make sense. Like I
yeah.
don't know, I
So
don't
and
understand what they're saying. That's why Mueller didn't
um
really say much of anything, because like, yeah, they were just in la la land. What they're doing is they're spreading their propaganda. It's like their alternate reality propaganda that they want people to know, but it's not truth. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's really tough because, like I said, I kind of understand in his line of work why he presented and why he backed off of making certain statements the way he did.
mm,
But sometimes I feel like, especially as a former attorney, that he could grasp when he was being steamrolled and want to combat that a little bit
yeah,
more.
but see, that's when I thought he was like kind of old fashioned, old school, like.
This is true. But I don't know when it comes to attorneys, the the older they are, the more old fashioned they are, the more they actually get into that whole like a bulldog that people kind of go, oh, this is what an attorney is. Whereas newer attorneys try to be a little bit more amicable, try to not take things personally. Like I find only a really young attorney will treat a case as though he is person or he or she is personally being attacked. Um, but when you get in kind of the middle road of attorneys that have maybe practiced like 20 years or so, they understand that they just don't have the energy to attack that way. But then when you get to really like up there senior attorneys, some of them come from a day where you had to be cutthroat to be an attorney. There was no, well, let's try and settle this out. It was you won or you lost. And so it's kind of torn with him. I have not seen anything about him prior to this administration. Um, but to be old fashioned as far as, you know, the law is concerned, some of those more old fashioned people are actually a little more rough. Um, and I don't know if it has something to do with the practices of law and how things have shaped now. Because I can tell you with my job, there's way more um, regulation on wording, on how information is shared. Um, like it's constantly being shaped to assist individuals who have no grasp of the law. It's constantly going, make the language as simple as possible. Do not do anything. Do not file anything without completely notifying the individuals. Do not share their information with anybody who does not have the right to see this file on their matter. Like it gets very, it's getting very protective over the ignorance of individuals. And I'm saying the ignorance of individuals meaning people who don't even get attorney. Like once the other person has an attorney, um, then it's seen as two attorneys who are very equally matched, going back and forth making their arguments. But but the rules and the way that things proceed really are really formed to kind of protect people who have no idea what they're doing.
Okay.
So I think that's who's mostly watching, are people who have no idea, and that's why he looked like he was lost. He looked like he was dodging questions.
Oh, I don't
Is
think he was
because
dodging. It didn't look like he was dodging
no. I'm
questions. But...
saying the criticisms that I've been
Oh,
seeing.
yeah.
I think that those are the people who don't have any clue what they are doing. If they were to handle, like, if they, for instance, if any of them have ever had to go to court for a ticket, or if any of them have ever gone to court for divorce, they might see it as very personal and not realize how much forethought has to go into the fact that they don't know anything about the law and how their case is handled by other people. Now, sometimes I would say more so with things like the traffic violation, you might have them take advantage of you. You know, you don't know what your defenses are. You have like a traffic cop come in and say a bunch of things. And sometimes that can just be what they perceived, not them trying to attack anybody. But then that individual doesn't know, whoa, wait, you're saying this, but I know for a fact with my car that couldn't have been the case. Like, oh, you couldn't have seen this or done this because this is my vehicle. Um, and people just don't know the tactfulness that goes into things like testimonies all the time. And I think he was being very tactful. And honestly, I think it just comes down to his statement that, yeah, if he weren't the presiding president, I could bring charges against him.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the only. I mean, that's the only thing that really matters, because everything else was very speculative, and that's why he didn't want to say anything. He's like, I'm not going to speculate with you.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
going to read between my words with you and support things. I'm not going to say yes on an idea that you had while reading my report unless it is specifically what was in my report.
yes.
But yeah. But I am concerned that, as usual, it's just going to come down to, well, this is his appearance. This is how he spoke. Not what did he say, just how did he say it. He didn't
Yeah.
say it with any confidence. So why should I even, and that's the thing that Trump has going for him, is he can say the most idiotic things, but he says it with so much confidence that people don't even second guess what he's saying. He told a bunch of kids that the Constitution makes it so he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
That's worse than Bush sitting there reading the books to kids while he was getting information about the towers. Like, why? Why do we let them visit kids at all?
No.
Kids, you don't need to. The president does not need to meet you in person. Like,
No.
they need to stay in the White House and
No, come
actually
on.
do
Some
their job.
presidents are cool. Come on. You can't.
Some of them are, but if I want, like, to not be biased towards any of them, I'd rather just be like, hey, you know what? None of them need to go to any school kids and start spouting off their ideas to them. Like, I don't need, for instance, I don't need my nieces and nephews to have the president come to their school and read them a book.
I mean,
They're
that's kind of
fine
cool.
without that.
I mean, I
I
wouldn't
I,
want Trump
I
to
would
do it. I
rather
mean,
I would rather
like, you got
the
something cool like Obama. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I'd rather that the kids were able to get more tours of like the White House and that entire district and see the government rather than the awkwardness of having like a one-on-one with the president.
I mean, I don't know.
Especially if you run the risk of having somebody like Trump tell these kids, I can abuse power, and the law actually gives me the right to do that.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
I mean, even a cool president. Yes, no, it would have been super cool to have a president like Obama, like visit some kids. As far as like, I'm saying like my nieces and nephews as examples. Like, if they were to be like, hey, the president came and like sat and talked to us, like that would be really cool. But I mean, it's not like he's. I mean, I can't imagine any of them give like sage advice to these little kids anyway.
Oh, come on. I mean, like a good president. Yes.
A
Like
good
you can't
president
judge all presidents
might.
by Trump. Trump is awful. He's not even a real president.
No.
So
But some of them just kind of, hang out and do the photo op. Like, that's
yeah,
what it
well,
is.
we
It's
we
a
don't
photo op.
we don't like those presidents. Those are bad ones. The bad ones.
And I don't think it's a common thing. I think that's a new age thing. I
Mm.
think you might go back to, I don't know, you might go back to Reagan. I don't think most presidents ever really wanted to like go out like that.
Go out. What do you mean go out like that?
Go out and like
Uh,
take time with the average person, especially kids. Because this is like a common thing now that like the presidents. I don't know what the occasion is, but there seems to always be a periodic occasion where the presidents go to like an elementary school. And I don't even know what elementary school it was. But yeah, he was just there telling them the Constitution makes it so I can do whatever I want.
yeah, he's dumb. But we all know
And
this.
and it's like sad for little kids who probably maybe only hear the word Constitution when their neighborhood is having a thing about free speech or gun control, to then have the president tell them everything
Falsehoods.
I do is supported by the Constitution. And the kids are like, what is this Constitution? And how does it do all these different things? How is it that it protects all my rights, but also makes it so the president could take them all away?
I don't think kids are thinking like that. I don't know.
They're not, but they were probably really confused. And I don't know, me as a kid, I mean, I'm not saying elementary, but definitely by middle school, I was thinking that way. It was like, wait, these things
I,
contradict each
I
other.
wouldn't even
I
have
don't.
thought about stuff like that. Like I'd have just been like, "Cool, president here. That's neat." You know, in middle school, yeah, that's all I would have thought. Cool, the president came. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
anything back in middle school.
Well, my head hurt a lot in middle school because I thought too much. Apparently.
Yeah. But all right, so I've been going for about an hour and a half. This whole time I've been mining obsidian, and I'm looking for a spot to build my gold farm. But yeah, thanks for coming along. You should get Minecraft so you can be in the world with me. It'd make it'd just be a lot cooler. But
Yeah, how much is it going for these days?
I will hook you up if you would join my show with me.
Uh, uh, I will think about it
All right.
because as far as the commitment to another show, because I have a number of things that I commit to already.
Yeah, okay, I recognize that. I mean, we could
Yeah.
I mean, if you felt like you had enough energy or time to do this, we could probably work out a schedule or something. Uh, but yeah,
Well,
it'd be cool.
well, yeah.
We'll think about it.
Yeah, follow up on it sometime.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks for stopping in, and
Yeah.
this concludes this episode of PoGokeRo's Pirate Broadcast. So
Everybody's gonna hate me.
no, not even. Come on. All right. So until next time, America. Peace. All right. PoGokeRo out.